Hello, everyone. Today is the 8th of September, 2023. And I want to work with, it's a convoluted connection that I want to work with resilience and our nervous system. So when we want to be resilient, when we want to hold an energy that is one of personal capability, power, agency, then if our nervous system is not able to back us up and to keep that agency and power going, then we've kind of failed at the first hurdle. So this resiliency at a nervous system level is interestingly seen from a Chinese medicine point of view. If you look from the version of the spirit, it's seen from what are called the Po. And the Po are it's the corporeal soul. They are yin, so the most materialized aspect of the soul. They are found deep in the darkness. If you think of it like, the earth and where we would find these spirits, it would be in the darkness of caves, amidst the minerals and the stones and decaying compost of matter. They really exist within all of life, and within us in a state of half slumbering silence. And the key for the resilience, is that they are the animating agents of vital life processes that take place beyond our conscious awareness and control. So that's our heartbeat, that's our breath, that's the blood moving through our veins. So they are closely related to what's called the autonomic nervous system. And this is including the sensory receptors, especially the primitive touch responses of the skin, and actually the interior sense receptors of the visceral organs, so how our organs are and what they feel like. It's related to those primitive aspects of the brain, like, are we going to survive or not? Making sure that the heartbeat keeps going, making sure that the breath keeps going. Our emotional blocks and intuitive knowing are kind of complexes that lock in the psychic energy that can be later unraveled and used for our psychological development. So our whole sort of hand-wringing, trying to understand the world and trying to understand our place in the world and our power and what we use and what we don't use, that's all regulated by the Po. There are embodied knowing, animal wit, street smarts, the part of us that can sniff out what is right or wrong, good or bad, safe or unsafe. And the Po regulates the coming and going of the essences, the Jing, which we've talked about before. This is kind of the resources that we brought in with us from our ancestry. All of this information is almost verbatim from Lorie Eve Decker's book, 5 Spirits, just to be very clear. So we need our Po to be in a healthy state so that our nervous system, all of our interactions at all of these deep, deep levels, the animating processes of, or the animating agents of our vital life processes can happen so that we can hold resiliency, whatever life throws at us. So, working with the theme of my core the core aspects, resiliency is one of them. So now we want to look at that nervous system PO connection. All right, I hope that makes enough sense. So working with the cohort that are on the call and those who are signed up now in the sort of membership portal, but also for future people who listen to this and who will need a level of resiliency at this nervous system level, feeling into whatever is needed. So wherever you are, I'd like you to find a place of comfort for your body, where you can go into a level of kind of meditation. Most people will find it better to be either lying down or sitting up in a meditative pose, perhaps in a bath. Some people may actually appreciate walking on the beach while they're listening to this, or in a forest. Whatever you're doing, make sure you're safe, and that you're not driving a car, for instance. This isn't a safe way to listen to this work. So finding yourself into a state of repose in whatever way makes sense for you. And start to notice your breath. Ideally, if it's possible, notice your breath coming in and out of your nose. The Po regulate the 7 orifices. That's the ears, the eyes, the 2 noses. Chinese medicine, they see it as 2 noses, and the mouth. So notice your breath coming through each of the nostrils. And exiting each of the nostrils. The cooler, drier air coming in, the warmer, moister air going out. Excuse me, we're already clearing things just by our breath. We are clearing and letting go. Now bringing a hand somewhere where you can feel the blood moving or your heartbeat. You might need to bring your hands to your neck, the upper neck, and feeling the blood move through the carotid artery there. You might be able to feel your heartbeat on your chest with your hands. With every breath, notice your capacity to trust the autonomic processes in your body. The will to life is there with you. It doesn't matter what emotionality is going on. Your heart is beating. Your body is breathing. And just anything that seems to be gathered, as in an idea like you're supposed to think about this, just grab it in your mind's eye from your forehead in the big, beautiful executive functioning brain and just let it go. It doesn't have to be that complicated. Life is your breath. So we're going to do some body intuitive work to help strengthen this resiliency at that nervous system level. Matching up with and dancing with the Po at the same time. So we're working with the brainstem, which can loosely be translated as the kind of part of the survival brain. And we're going into a part of this brainstem called the periaqueductal gray, or PAG. And this is where we have all of the emotional operating systems will either move through or originate in this place at the very lowest part of your brain. The part that then goes into the spinal cord, the very basic, again, this automatic processing, autonomic, automatic. So it's that aspect of regulating any of the emotional operating systems, whatever influence this part of the brain has on these kind of basic attitudes that we can have, how we meet the world. And I remind you, all of us will know, that saying of like, I woke up on the wrong side of the bed today. I've got a bad attitude for today. That whole piece of I woke up on the wrong side, that I am meeting the world from a place that's actually not that great for me. That's a part of the emotional operating systems. And we want this part of the brain, the PAG, to be able to learn. We want it to be able to hear something or feel something and not necessarily repeat the same processes, not repeat the processes of our ancestors or from our childhood, for instance. We want to be able to meet the world in a new way. This is a part of resiliency. So this part of the brain is wanting its job description kind of read to it again. We're resetting, organizing and optimizing the functionality of this PAG in order for there to be more possibilities with the regulation of our emotional operating systems. It also wants a point that many of you will be familiar with, and this is called liver 14. And this point is on the lower rib cage, directly down from our nipples. And the name of this point is translated in a couple of ways. One of them is Gate of Hope, but in this context, I prefer Gate of Possibilities, Gate of Prospects. There are many, many different ways for us to work with our prospects. And in order for our Po, these spirit animated aspects of our metal element, which is, and the lungs and the colon within us, in order for the Po to be healthy, to hold resilience, to allow these autonomic processes to do exactly what we need, boom, in every moment. They need to be responsive to the prospects, responsive to the possibilities. And that responsiveness is seen in the dynamic between the Hun, the Po, and the Yi. So the Po you know about. The Hun, depending on how long you've listened to me, you may or may not know about. The Hun are the other half of the soul in Chinese medicine. So the Po are the corporeal, the body soul. The Hun are the ethereal, or the heavenly soul. The two of these are like a bellows. They dance with each other, ideally. Ideally, they never separate in terms of their communication, their ability to meet each other. If the Hun go off and the Po don't feel connected to the possibilities, because that's the job of the Hun, is to go to the heavens and find the possibilities for us. If they go off and bring that down, or don't bring that down, then the Po don't feel like it's worth being in this body. So we need to bring back down the Hun. We need those shiny things from the heaven to be brought to the Po. And the in-between is the manifesting possibility that's held in the earth element. These are just a lovely explanation. If it is like double Dutch or Greek to you, don't worry about it. Just breathe into the possibility. You change your mind about the world. You give that instruction to the body, to the nervous system, to the automatic functioning in your body. And the body grabs that and says, thank you. And then allows your body to change and manifest and activate with that new possibility. This is your physiology jumping into action at that spirit level and then into the physical. So we're giving this relationship dynamic, the whole system of that, an upgrade. Excuse me, we're resetting that. So we're working with that, and we're also working with, we're giving it its job description, but we're working with the next points. And these are just up near the shoulders at the top of the chest. So this is lung 1, this is middle palace. And what we've done is move the energy from the end of the liver channel on that connect the dot liver channel and moved it up to the lung channel. We've brought it into connection with the heavens. Okay. So now we're working with the actual red blood cells and the heme complex within the red blood cells. And there's information that's come out recently that the heme complex can gather energy, not just from the oxygen, but actually from sunlight. there's an activation process that can happen. So this heme complex in our blood, in our capillaries, in our tissues, in our rosy cheeks, it desires and loves sunlight. Sunlight helps to provide the photons from the sunlight, helps to provide us with energy. And many of us, for many, many good reasons, shield ourselves from that sunlight. But what I'm getting is that it's important when we can to get good sunlight, to allow some of that to come in, not the heat of the day, not the highest UV time, but allowing a little bit of sun to come onto our skin in titrated doses, in small doses, fitting your circumstances. If you don't feel comfortable with it, don't do it. But if you can, providing just a little bit of sunlight on your skin when and where you can. And that's going to help your blood actually reinforce all the physiology that we've talked about. Okay. And in Chinese medicine, we talk about blood in a very different way. Blood isn't just, something that moves oxygen around the body. Blood is also what allows our spirit, our radiance, our joy to be felt in every single cell. So blood is sort of a capital B blood. It's providing a lot more than just an exchange of electrons. Even though exchanging electrons is actually pretty cool, it's a lot more than that. All right. We're going into the immune system. And what's interesting is the Po is a part of the metal element in Chinese medicine. And the immune system is part of the metal element as well. Huge amount of our immune system is in our colon, but also the functioning of our lungs is incredibly important as well. The lungs, the breath, the autonomic nervous system, making sure we're not in inflammation mode, making sure we're in good relationship with the environment around us, our microbiome. So from an Eastern perspective, we want to look at the sort of layers of organization that come in that form part of the immune system as well. And we're working with that second layer when we're dealing with what's called invasion by cold. And I don't want you to get too hung up on that, but like different viruses, some will be cold kind of viruses, some will be hot. COVID was a weird one because it's both cold and hot, which is very unusual. So we've got the 6 stages, and at a level of this called Yang Ming. And this involves both the stomach and the large intestines, and we're working with the large intestine meridian, unsurprisingly, because we're working with metal. The function of these two in this layer is our fever. It's when something has come in from the outside, it's gotten in, and our body's just like, no, you don't. No, you don't pass. And so it actually creates inflammation, a fever in the body to sweat it out. And so we might feel like a delirium. We might feel like heat and stool in our bowel movements. So in the stool, which kind of oftentimes can mean that it's like very loose and unpleasant. We can feel emotionally disturbed. We can feel weak in ourselves. The other aspect of this that can come in is that because we have often been medicated so much, as children, paracetamol given at the slightest hint of a fever, that kind of thing, then our body doesn't know how to activate a fever. It's like our body's processes aren't able to fight off at this level. And that's what I'm getting, is it's the inability for a high fever that we're working with here. Okay. And the reason for that is it is things like the paracetamol use, or fever breaking. It could be aspirin, it could be ibuprofen, but I'm getting mostly paracetamol. But it's more than that as well. There's something of it's almost like not safe to. So the words that are coming in, it's a little bit clunky, but it's like not safe to be valid. It's like at times in our lives, the idea that we would mount a fever and say, I don't think so, no way, might have been relevant, not just for a virus or a bacteria that was coming in, but relevant for like a cold wind coming from other people or situations. And that actually in that level, we didn't have the capability, we didn't have the validity, the agency in ourselves to say, actually, I'm valid. Don't send that stuff to me. I'm not accepting that. I'm not letting that be a part of me. It's like we instead just absorbed the coldness and shut up. Another way of saying this is that we bought our place of belonging and our safety through diminishing our capacity to fight what wasn't appropriate for us. So you might be able to notice things. Maybe there were times where, and probably easier to think of it as in that sort of just take it and shut up, right? Like whenever you felt like that was your only recourse, that was the best thing that you could do for them, and therefore, okay, it made you safe. So it could be family of origin, it could be a job, it could be friends that we got, or supposed friends that didn't really have our best interests at heart. All of this has made it harder for us to have a fever, to be able to fight in our body against things that aren't really for us. And I want to say, not only is it from the outside, but sometimes we've let something get so deep and we're trying to push it out. And we might need to create a fire within us in order to burn it out as well. So as things are emotionally and spiritually being processed, we might need to burn a little bit in order to release it. So it kind of comes both ways. All right. So this Yang Ming, not safe to be valid, paracetamol use, inability for a high fever, these are all coming in as something that's going to help us reset into our resiliency. And what does this want? We're going to another acupuncture point that's called leg 3 miles or stomach 36. It's on the left-hand side. Well, we're using it on the left-hand side, and we're going to activate it by tapping. And I'll do that from here. Some of you might know where it is. It's just below the left knee and slightly on the outside. So below on the lower leg. And so you might remember where it is and just tap really gently, but don't worry about it if you don't know where it is. It's all good. All right. So this beautiful roadmap to resiliency at the nervous system level for our spirit, our corporeal soul. This is what's going to help us hold that animation in our body. Hold that our vital life processes are not being impeded in any way by previous experiences or by the physiology sort of holding tight and going, no, we're not allowed to do that. No more. All right. So all you need to do is just breathe nice and deep. Breathe in your connection to possibilities, to prospects, to things being different. And breathe out anything that says you're not safe to change. You don't matter enough to change. All right, we get to do a little bit more. Just coming back in, noticing your breath. Perhaps you notice something shifting. Perhaps you don't. I'm just making note of it. Nothing's good or bad here. If you need to move your body a little bit, just to stretch out or, bring different blood flow to an area, then do. We're going to take a look at one of the vertebrae now. This is interesting. So it's vertebrae T2. So it's up on the upper part of the back. It has a consciousness of smothering. So let's break this down. So smothering, of course, could be other people, like almost like not letting us get a word in edgewise, not letting us be okay in ourselves, not speaking, kind of not letting us have a thought to ourselves. So the consciousness of smothering, it can also literally be that you can't get a breath or let a breath out. So what is the connection here? This consciousness of smothering, this upper thoracic vertebrae, attempting to say to us now, the context that this is in. Okay, so I worked with this earlier today with another client. So this is an extension of that work. It's our smothering of ourselves due to our perception of the earth being in pain. Okay. I find this hard to explain because I find it a little bit counterintuitive, and like I haven't fully integrated this, and I am loath in some ways because I feel like there is action needed, absolutely 100%, that humans have a big job to do at the minute around bringing ourselves back into balance with the 10,000 things, the 10,000 beings, as we say in Chinese medicine. That yes, we are destroying ecosystems. We are destroying, and with it, we're destroying the patterns of the weather on the planet. We are making life much more difficult, not just for us as a species, but for cultures, for peoples everywhere, for plants, for animals, for all sorts. But functionally, the earth itself is not, it's not diminished. The earth itself has always been changing. This is not a denial of the climate processes that are happening, the ecosystem destruction. The earth itself is it's like spirit. It is beyond our capacity. It cannot be damaged. It will change. It is changing. It is changing because of our actions. But we can't sit there and say that the earth is in its own way, it as an entity is damaged. It is changing. It is different. That is difficult for the rest of the humans, for ecosystem, for all of that stuff. But the earth is not in pain. We need to understand this because we need to actually allow ourselves to gather the truth of the mother, our like ultimate mother, that we are not damaging her. And then what we do from making sure that we are honoring her, what happens, what the doing that comes from the being and seeing the planet as totally inviolable in terms of its sanctity. And when we're honoring that, we're honoring all of life. It becomes a very different vibration. Again, it's like we're not interacting with it from the wrong side of the bed. We need to stop smothering ourselves around the fact that we are here on a planet that is changing due to human actions. We need to remember she is whole, she's complete. She's doing what she's doing because of that wholeness. Okay. So that is part of this T2 is part of what we're looking at here. And remember, there's nerves that come from there and innervate the rest, some of the organs, the lungs, the thymus, the voice box probably. There's lots and lots that go on through this interaction. And so when we release this consciousness of the smothering of ourselves around, I don't deserve to be on this planet. When we release that, then we're going to release an ability to be in resilience in a way where we can actually use our vitality appropriately instead of drowning or not being able to breathe. Okay. So we need to release that energy from that vertebrae, and I'll be doing that with a tuning fork. And allowing it to reset itself. Okay. Our next piece is an emotional resolution. It's like a memory, an event. An event, is this a collective event for all of us? Yes. So something that happened on a global scale. Yes. Is this it's the fires in the Amazon. So the destruction of the Amazonian rainforest on so many levels. It's more. It's the earthquake in Japan that released radioactivity. This is basically all the different examples of human attempt to control and be use the planet in disproportionately for humanity and the damage that it causes. So the fire in the Amazon, the earthquake in Japan, etc., etc. I want you to notice what emotions you have around all of these memories that in so many ways we disassociate, we push ourselves away, push it away. It's so complex, it's so big that it's very difficult for us to even look at it. And I want you to notice what emotions that you have around this, because we need to get rid of them. In order for you to have resilience, we need to get rid of them. So I'm getting grief, guilt, sadness, despair, confusion, those are the main ones. So the main 5: grief, guilt, sadness, despair, confusion. Maybe you have others. Absolutely honor that. I'd like you now to think about your emotions and perhaps the ones I identified and see how big of a mountain have you been carrying of this? Because I think this is what's smothering us. And it's absolutely making it a lot harder for us to feel appropriate, like we're allowed to have vitality, we're allowed to be here and breathe and digest and be on this planet, and all the different things that not processing this then indicate to us. Then we come up and out of our body and we just it's sort of like we're just almost like empty ghosts. Okay. So I'm getting for the group, if 0 is nothing and 10 is extreme, we're in between 8 and 10 for the group. Now, this next bit, because we always try and recognize that when we have an emotion that's felt so intensely in the body, you know, it's energy that isn't in motion. We need to release that. And once we release it, that energy, it's like there's kind of a vacuum. And so we want to reclaim something that hasn't been able to be there because we were so busy holding on to this other energy. And what we want to reclaim is the truth that even in this day and age, even though we could very logically look at humans on this planet as a scourge, even despite that, we each have a place of belonging that is all our own. And I would take this one step further, and it depends on your cosmology, your idea of the world and metaphysics and all of that. I would take it a step further and say, not only do we have a place of belonging, but we have an honorable remit for why we are in our body on this planet at this time. So we're here to do a job, essentially. So when we reclaim, we're reclaiming, I'm allowed to be here. I'm allowed to be here and taking resources, because every biological, organic thing in this planet takes resource. And we're allowed to also, with this life, do what our energy is meant to do. That honorable remit. So we're breathing that back in. Okay. And this is where we get to activate. So I'll be working on this T2, just below the shoulders. And I need you guys to sit up so that you can turn your head into the left and out to the right. And I want you to release any of the emotions that you found. Oh, I'm already feeling dizzy. Around this sort of all the environmental destruction that happens, and the human hand in that. You know, the real guilt around that. And breathing in and letting go. It's not wrong that you recognize your place as a human, but it is wrong for us to let that stop us from being vital enough to do our job in this lifetime. So feel the grief and let it go. I should have said, for those who haven't listened before to this, the emotional resolution technique is one that uses head turning. You turn your head to the left as you breathe in. You turn your head to the right as you breathe out. So breathing in, breathing out, and when you breathe in, you connect to your emotions, and when you breathe out, you let them go. Excuse me. And then when you feel like your mountain of emotions has come down enough, allow yourself to go into the truth that you have a place of belonging that is all your own. And that if your cosmology, if your way of thinking about the world will honor that, will extend to this, that there is an honorable remit, there is a job vibrationally for you to be doing. It involves you being healthy. It involves you being alive and vibrant. It involves you being clear and coherent in your body. And whatever is necessary to be done happens naturally when we're in that state. Excuse me. So you breathe that in and breathe out anything that doesn't fully support that. That's it. Good. So this isn't that we hold greater importance than anybody else. Each and every person has this honorable remit. Each and every person has a place of belonging that is all their own. If we can feel that, and in fact understand it for every single creature, for even every rock, that there is a natural order that we can place ourselves to be a part of, then we start to be in right relationship. And from there we can do so much more. We can be the change we want to be in this world. And we can hold resiliency while we do it. That it's not something that we have to necessarily start and stop. it comes, it happens. These are the things that we can do, not only for ourselves and our own health, but for our family's health, for our community's health, for the health of Gaia, the all life on this planet. And within that, it might be that the earth comes into a balance that actually isn't as destructive for us and all the other species as it does what it naturally does, because the earth is whole. All right. I didn't know that it was going to go in those directions, but that is super cool. I hope you all enjoyed that. Coming back into your body, into your breath. And moving forward, understanding that sometimes there needs to be a fire within you that expels, gets rid of coldness, expels the idea that it's important for you to, or the only way you can be safe is to sit down and shut up. That expels the idea that the sun and our interaction with the natural elements is dangerous for us. Allows new possibilities to come in and change our body, and allows us to be as vital as we possibly can be to do what we're meant to do in this lifetime. So I love this session. I think it's super, super cool. Thank you so much for those who showed up on the call. Sending much love, and I'll see you perhaps next week. Take care. Be well. Bye-bye.